Hello, everybody. So I'm just continuing. This is a part two for customer experience, and the title is filled with feedback. Okay, so is your customer going to give you good feedback or bad? And in part one, go watch it if you haven't already. I covered if you're working, for example, for well-known company, whether it's formal or not so formal, the basics are sort of the same. Go check it out. I make some examples and do let me know if you have anything to add over there. Okay, so I covered in part one regarding old staff and their experience as the actual customer, and you not knowing that that was actually a staff member that actually entered your office or your fish and chip shop or any other company you could be working for, and the consequences of ignorance. Okay, so let's look at customer loyalty to a brand. Now, remember, we are talking about working for a well known company. Say, for example, the company's slogan is maybe it's a women's brand. Okay, I'm gonna make an example of the JK brand, which is my brand. So the slogan is distinctive, authentic, and powerful women encouraging women. Okay, I also make reference to men, of course, because we've got some men that's definitely out there supporting and encouraging women. So well done to you, but it is a woman's brand. So I just want to make an example. So now I've covered the slogan. So now if I, for example, hire a staff member, and that staff member, I say to the person, you know what? That's the basics. I've given you training. So in the training, for example, I let them know the expectations, etc. But I actually want them to be themselves, still professional, but mostly be the authentic selves. Okay, be yourself. So if you're out there as a receptionist, for example, acting like the boss of the world, and you think that nobody is going to notice um, your act, then take this as a reality check that you need to be yourself. Okay, so if you, for example, are a receptionist in a company, then you're going to, there's certain expectations for your role, so then you're going to do those expectations but also be yourself. Okay, um because if you, once you cross the line and you start faking it, then your customer is going to pick up on that behavior. So especially if you're at a front desk and someone enters your space, they going to, you are the first person they see, the first encounter they have. So you are creating that atmosphere. Your job is important. You're going to create that atmosphere that they are either going to have a great time being there at the office, or if it already starts bad in the front, then you can imagine how the customer will leave. The customer's already thinking, if it's already going this bad with me now, then how is it going to be for the rest of my experience? So keep that in mind. Okay, you don't have to be anyone else in the office but yourself. And so it's important that you keep the brand in mind, because for, I'll make another example. If you're working for a company that's been in existence for many many years, then most likely that customer, say for example it's an insurance company. Okay, now this person's family has most likely processed claims through this company. The sisters and brothers have policies at the company. They were recommended by their pals. They um, always talk about this brand. They are loyal to the brand. Okay? So their kids is most likely going to also get policies at that company, and so it will go. But you can be the person that stops the ball from rolling. Okay, if you're going to give them a bad customer experience. So if, for example, you do well at being bad, then you can actually stop the train right there and ruin that experience for all of those customers, and ultimately the business itself will lose customers because of your bad behavior. So these are a couple of things you need to think about. So remember to keep the brand ethics, the brand values in mind. And also, if the brand, for example, says be yourself, then be yourself. You cannot be your other colleague. Okay, you can only be yourself. If they say if you need to be professional, then be professional. Okay, if you leave from there, you can do whatever you want to do outside the working space, but remember, you are working for the brand. They pay your salary, and if the customers do not walk through that door, you don't have a job and you won't have a salary. Okay, so this is important to remember when considering how you treat your customers that approach your office or approach any other working environment that you're working for. So customer facing environments is extremely important. You need to keep these factors in mind. So let me know if you know of a colleague that's acting like they are you, or acting like someone else, or acting like they're working elsewhere and doing everything besides what they are supposed to do. Tell us about that experience. Let's talk through it, and let's all learn as a JK community as to what are the factors that are impacting bad customer experiences. Okay, so the next one we'll look at is you look like a workaholic. What does that mean? So say, for example, the branch is quiet, and the minute a customer walks in, okay, the branch is quiet and now a customer walks through the door, and now you are fighting with your colleagues. For example, maybe you have sales targets, and now you and your colleague decide to fight about the situation, and the customer can see it from where the customer is standing. The customer can witness you or fighting about the customer in the branch. Okay, so your comments and your behavior and your body language and everything is showing that you are now fighting about the customer, making the customer feel awkward. Or how would you feel in that situation if that happened? Okay, you walking into a branch or into a space where you need to be assisted, and you see these people fighting over you, pointing at you, and also just going on and just doing the worst, when you still need to be approaching one of those two people. Okay, then the second point here is you run towards or up and down, telling everyone of the customer. Okay, so the branch is dry, you've been waiting there a long time for a customer to walk through your door, and the customer approaches your branch, and now you're storming towards this customer. It looks like you're about to tackle the customer. You are your body language is sort of, how would you feel if that happens to you? Would you feel you can startle the customer? The customer could feel a little bit uncomfortable. They would wonder about why you're acting that way instead of the actual query that they came to the branch for. And then the third point on this, remember we're talking about you look like a workaholic. and I'm just making some examples with regards to what it means to actually appear as a workaholic, because most people are workaholics. I'm a workaholic. I love to work, I love to create, I love to you know just work in general. I mean, I enjoy completing the task that I need to complete. But how you do it is important, and how you come across to the client is also more important. Okay, so you don't want to startle the customer, or you don't want to scare them away. So then the third point here is block the customer at the door. Okay, so now, for example, you're walking in the first video, I made an example of a fish and chips store. Okay, you're going to buy fish and chips, but they also have other things there, Gatsby's or whatever the case may be. And you, for example, you're exhausted, you know exactly what you want. You've been craving this certain you've been craving something specific, and you know about that store, and you want to purchase something at that store. Okay, so now you're walking in there, and someone rushes towards you to block you at the door. Okay, so in fact, the person's intention could be that they want you to come inside and make a purchase, but now that desperation is coming through, and they are so excited to see you, excited to make a sale, that they sort of block you at the door. Okay, so now you're not in the mood for this, because you know exactly what you want, especially if this person is now telling you what you need to be buying. So now there are customers, of course, that need advice, that wonder and just look at the board the whole time and can't decide what to purchase, and that is your opportunity to do that. You can make suggestions, etc., but it's important to know who you are talking to as well, and that comes with experience. So observe the customer's body language, observe the situation, and you won't be approaching everyone the same. Okay, there could be big consequences that you will regret later on. So don't block the customer at the door. Let the customer walk through, because the customer is there. They know what they want. They like your store. They want something there on the menu, and they're going to make a purchase, and they're most likely going to be back another time. Okay, so it's important to sort of know who you're talking to, differentiate whether or not you can push a little, but make sure you don't push that customer too far, because like I said, there are major consequences, and at the end of the day you can lose business, and then the place can close down and you have no job. Okay, so that's my take on customer experience. And again, the title is Filled with Feedback. So how you treating the customers and how you approaching the customers is extremely important, and the customer's opinion does matter. And remember, without them you don't have a business, and those are the factors to consider. I would like to hear some examples of your personal experiences. What were the consequences that you faced? And also, how did you fix that situation? How did you get that how did you manage that obstacle that was in your way? Okay, and did you ask for advice from another colleague of yours, or get some advice from another colleague, and did the two of you maybe decide how best to handle the situation, resulting in great customer feedback? Okay, I'd like to hear from you.